Okay guys, welcome back to the layout. We are on part 7 of our series, and today we're looking at doing sound decoder install into locomotives that are not DCC ready. Today we're looking at Author and Blue Box kits in particular, but the process we're going to show is going to be very much the same, or at least very similar if you have a Walthers or a Bachmann or something else that is not DCC ready. As usual, we're using Digitrex products. This is the same decoder that I used last time. It is the SDH-164D. And if you've been following along in the series, or if you've worked with Digitrex stuff on your own, that decoder is very similar to the DH-123D that most of us use for mobile functions, or as a mobile decoder from Digitrex. This one has the mobile and sound in one decoder, which is very nice. The install is going to be very much the same as if we were just wiring the 123D, for the exception of course, the speaker and the capacitor. This is Digitrex's first decoder that has both mobile and sound functions in one. They have a few other decoders that just have the sound, which sometimes are a pain, because this one's obviously has everything in one, but at the same time having two different decoders, one for sound and one for mobile, can be very nice if you want to program each one independently. So let's get started. Okay, first I'm going to show you guys how this works in DC before we convert this over to DCC. Of course, you have two rails for your locomotive. The front rail, or right rail, or the rail that the engineer sits on, is your positive or your common. And what happens is the truck, in this case, has a post on it, and it's isolated from everything else. It's isolated from the frame, it's isolated from the rest of the truck, and it picks up that common positive current and it directs it through this clip to the top of the motor, and again on the other side here with the other clip, or post rather. The current goes through the motor and is then grounded into the chassis or frame. This leaves the whole frame grounded. There's also the ground for your light, and the ground current then exits through the remainder part of the truck, again isolated from the post, but leaves the truck into the back or left rail, or fireman's side rail, that's completing the circuit. In DCC, it is necessary to isolate the motor from the chassis or frame, and making the ground go through a different part of the circuit, as opposed to coming up through motor and then down to the chassis or frame. So other than taking the shell off, the next step is to remove the linkage from your truck, from the motor, and removing the motor itself, depending what model you have, either unscrewing or popping through your motor mounts, and taking the motor away from the frame. Okay, once you remove the linkage and motor from the frame, you'll notice there should be a strip down here where the motor makes contact with the frame, and I am going to simply cover that with a little piece of electrical tape, just so there's no accidental contact when I convert the motor over. Depending on your model, the motor may just have two wires coming up from it already. They may already be isolated from the frame, but just better check just to make sure. I've already taken the motor and I've already put my first two wires on. Orange at the top of the motor, and what I've done is I removed the clip that was there. Only remove the first clip, don't remove the second clip that's here, because it's also a retainer for a set of springs that are in here, and if you lose those, it's going to ruin your day. But orange here in the top with a nice solid solder connection, and gray on the bottom, again with a nice solid solder connection. These little tabs that were here, I removed. You can bend them back if you like, but I just simply remove them. Again, to avoid accidental contact with the frame once this is reinstalled. And I've also shortened, as you can see, the wires, so when I have the completed product, this will sit up here very nicely and very tight and secure. The next thing to do is, once you've put your wires on your motor, is to give it a quick bench test and then reinstall it back into your chassis or frame. Okay, so I have taken the red lead and I've placed it here on this post, and at the same time I've also ran a red jumper to this post. It's very important not to omit that step, because if you only have pickup from one truck, it'll severely hinder your performance and your locomotive will cut out a lot. I've also taken the black lead and I've sanded a part of the frame down here, and I've soldered the black lead to the frame. If you have the ability to drill a small hole and drop a screw to support the black lead, that works as well. It may work even better than this. That's how the Autumn Ready to Roll series does their ground. I've also taken the white and I've mounted it to the clip here where the light bulb is. I've shortened the clip up so it doesn't make any accidental contact with the post here. And I am now ready to give it a bench test. Light works. Obviously the sound here works. It still has the original sound selection for the scheme there. I haven't done that yet, but there's my bench test. Looks like everything seems to work okay. And we can now mount the speaker and do a little programming. Okay guys, I'm just about done doing the sound programming with the Digitrax PR3. I'm hoping at this point in the series you guys are familiar with me using the program. I have seated the decoder with some electrical tape. I have also placed a speaker and capacitor with some double-sided carpet tape. Normally you guys will see me use a speaker similar to this. Given that this is the F unit, the owner of the locomotive has decided to go with the stock speaker. However, the last locomotive I did for him, we went with the Soundtrax Mega Bass speaker, which sounded very nice. And we'll put this guy together and we'll give it a final test, and we'll start programming some CV values for it, and it'll be ready to go.